I am Christopher Finley. This podcast is made possible by the LAPE research thing, a whole bunch of stuff. This is episode 2, and I am joined with
Brian Fernandez. Insert research here.
Yep, that is the name. I'm having every guest do it so we can cut them all together. But yeah, that was great. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. And you are a graduate of UC Merced, also published last spring? Was it spring?
Yes.
Yeah, in the spring. And what was the title? Can you remind me again of yours? If you remember the title of your paper?
The need for Spanish communication classes in medical education, I believe.
Yeah. And you can explain. I know a little bit of it as I was an editor, but if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, so the paper, I wrote it for my graduate interdisciplinary humanities class that I took over fall semester of 2021. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I graduated I don't even know when I took that class, actually. 2022, because we're in 2023, so fall 2022.
Yeah, some year.
And then, so I submitted it to the Brecky Kranich Award for Research Excellence from the UC Merced Library, and then I also submitted it to the URJ.
Yeah, because you won that award. Yeah. The library award. Yeah.
Yeah, me and Sophia Wallace-Boyd, I think.
Yeah. Was that good? Was it a good feeling to?
It was pretty good winning an award, like saying, "Oh, your paper's pretty good for being an undergraduate."
Yeah, that's why I encourage more people to know. That's what the podcast is for the URJ. Mm-hmm. And then can you walk me through the process of, not the library thing, but for the URJ, of how you found out about the URJ or like that whole process?
So I didn't know about the URJ until my PI, the professor I work with, she emailed me about it and said, you should submit your paper to the URJ. And I was like, what is that? So she explained it in person, and then I was like, oh yeah, I can submit it. And it was like a couple steps. You fill it out, a website, then you put in your PDFs, and then the process of an editor reaching out, saying your paper was selected, and then working with them to edit that paper to make it like standardized for the publishing sense. So it was pretty easy. Mm-hmm. And then award ceremony with all the other published authors was pretty fun.
Yeah, and that editor was me. I was that editor for that entire process. Pretty painless for Brian's paper. It was very well put together. Of course, award winner from the start. But yeah, it's a very simple process for people that are interested in getting their paper in. It really is just, as Brian just said, putting in your paper. So I think I've said this before, but if you don't have a paper that's long enough, of course, you could probably go to your professor or your PI and say, how could I expand? Especially since that person encouraged you to have it be submitted. That it really is just, you got to be willing to put yourself out there, and when you do, you can win an award.
Yeah. Building research skills is pretty tough for people like straight out of COVID, because like we didn't find ourselves until like we came back to school, because we had like barely a semester here my freshman year. COVID happened, didn't come back till my third year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so that's difficult, because those steps are like being built from like the very beginning here.
Yeah. And
I went to community college. It was all through COVID. And I never went to campus one time, and then I was here the last semester. So I definitely feel the strain of like, I don't feel like I'm behind now, but I feel like I am stepping on the gas to really start projects up to get them going. But yeah. And how did this was your own topic? Was this from?
Yeah, so the paper's topic was, I chose it myself. It was for the interdisciplinary humanities class. It was translingualism, and it was about translingualism like in a transnational context, something like that. And so I picked talking about Spanish communication classes in medical education, because of it's very important, like how our medical professionals are being trained, how they're learning the material. So then I with my background being in like a linguistics lab for over a year, I decided to focus more on the language aspect of it and how that leads to improved memory and learning. So like we can better treat our patients here in the Central Valley, America as a nation, and then like across the world as well. So that's why I chose the topic.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed editing your paper because previously I was an EMT and I felt the strain of not knowing multiple languages and having to still guide somebody and help somebody through a difficult time in their life, whether it was just transporting them from like a medical appointment to back to their home or to the hospital. There's a disconnect, and there's the need for exactly what you wrote about.
Mm-hmm.
And you are now going to be a graduate student where again? If you can just elaborate on what you're going on to do now, because that's one of the reasons why I had you here, so that you can talk about everything you did now and all the great opportunities that you're moving on to.
I'm going to take off my jacket first. It's
Yeah.
hot. Yeah. So yeah, I applied to the University of Florida. It's an online program, and I chose to do it in like the concentrations like medical microbiology and biochemistry.
Okay.
And if I'm accepted, I start spring 2024, which is coming up pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope to hear back from them in December or the beginning of January. And what was the rest of the question?
Just like, do you think that
Oh,
everything that you did previously, all of the research and all that, has prepared you now for what you're going into? Or like, not if you're hopeful, but are you like, of course you want to do it. You're excited, I assume.
Yeah.
Of moving on to this next step, that, you know, that you're prepared, that everything at UC Merced prepared you for this next step.
Yeah. So yeah, everything at UC Merced did prepare me for like applying to graduate school, I think, because when I was at UC Merced, I did 3 research lab experiences. 2 were at the same time. 1 was separate from the others, kind of. So doing bioarchaeology research, I did that. And then I moved on to linguistics research at UC Merced. And then I was also doing some research in public health as well. And being able to balance all those projects while also working on my undergraduate degree, my bachelor's degree, I think that really allowed me to work on my time management skills and build on just juggling so much things at once, maybe the stress. I think it really did prepare me for that, and like being able to submit my paper to the RJ and the Research Excellence Award, that actually like gave me more confidence, like I can do this, I can go to graduate school. And yeah,
it's great. Yeah,
it is great.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing that I want to do. I want to go on, and what you speak to about juggling and time management, our previous guest, that is now the actual head of the URJ, spoke to about the same kind of thing about juggling 5 different jobs and all of that stuff. But it's great that we have this place and all of the different things. Would you say that, like, if you had to like give advice to other people, would you say it's more like you need to really be going out there and talking to your PIs or professors? It's
very important to talk to your professors and get involved with research, and they can guide you in the right way, but you can find your own path as well with their guidance. It's pretty amazing. Like just talking to someone that has been in academia for so long, like our professors, they know what to do. They can help you get to where you want to be. So it's really nice getting to know a couple of professors very well to help you along the way.
Yeah, that's supposed to be my co-host. Barnett is very much like that, and a few other professors. But that is the way that I've found it, and the way that you've now spoken about. You have to get out there and you got to talk to people. It's the only way. I mean, they have doctorates, or they have their masters of fine arts, or whatever terminal degrees that they have, but it is a lot of knowledge in people's heads that need to be like, you got to go out there and get it. Like, of course, there's opportunities around with flyers and social media, but it really is a matter of talking to people.
Yeah, getting to know your professor, going to office hours, even your TAs, like they can speak very highly of you if you like get to know them very well too. Their PIs, their mentors. So yeah, just talking, like getting to get out of your comfort zone. It's sometimes really hard being new to college, but everyone's in the same boat as you. Just get out there, break out of that shell, really get to know people.
Yeah, and you know that other people aren't going to do it. So
Yeah.
be the one that does do it, and then
Yeah. Especially here at UC Merced, where the school's so small, we have so many opportunities to get to know people. So do it.
Yeah,
Jump out there.
Yeah, it's like 28 for like English and 40, even lower division is still pretty small. But yeah, let's move on to more boilerplate questions that we have. Probably already went over. Okay, you're going to graduate school for like biology. Are you going to more towards like what you've done with language, or?
Okay, so like my research that I did in linguistics, that was like one of the biggest research experiences I had. I've done it for over like I think 2 years, and I'm still continuing doing that research. Language is very important to all of us. It's how we communicate. It's how we learn. So understanding like where it comes from, like the origin, that is very important because that helps me learn, helps other people learn, it helps professors and teachers teach better, like find those issues. That's what I see. And being able to get my master's in biology and possibly becoming either professor, going into the medical field, like applying to those schools. Language is important there. It helps you write. Like, it helped me write my paper that I submitted for the URJ. And I plan on using my language research background in my master's as well, talking to my professors, how I can get involved, how we can, because it is an online program, and like communication amongst the online like platforms, how that can be better to help people be more engaged and learn better as well, because there are working professionals who may not have the time, so communicating between professors and students would be the best way to learn.
Yeah, because that is definitely a roadblock in terms of schooling now, especially if you want to be a working professional. And our previous guest also talked another thing about language, but more of unlearning, and she is going in that area. But we're both birds of a feather when it comes to words, and thinking that, for me, words are the only thing we have, the only symbols that we have to communicate one consciousness to another. And I'm trying to do that more with literature, and we're doing it here with linguistics and in biology. But yeah, that's really great. Now, is it like, if you know more about like a master's, is it purely when you're doing biology is just like all research, or are you still like, are you going more in depth into just that one topic and like really pinpointing at that point when you become a graduate student
So it's about like getting more in detail, getting more in depth, but there is research still. It's always going to be there. It's important because when you do research, you find out ways that work, you find things that don't work, what's actually happening. There's things that are always left out in models, so finding out and researching, doing those experiments can build more knowledge in the community and in the field, and can help everyone learn in the long end.
Yeah, that's great. Let's move on to the other boiler that we have here. We talked about what you published already. There is, well, this won't be, it'll be out way after the party. We don't need to talk about the current party and it's impacting your life. You already have that. We already talked about that. We can talk more about the impact, like, currently, but you spoke a little bit about that already, about how really the URJ is, it wasn't one, it was more of like a multi, because you won the award, but it is like, would you have it, like, do you have advice other than like we already spoke about, in terms of, you know, you need to talk to people, you need to do this, you need to do that? Do you have anything else in terms of like somebody that never, they're like, I have a paper, I would like to submit it.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give me, knowing nothing about the URJ?
Um, so if I'm a student that knows nothing about the URJ and I have a paper that I may want to submit, I'd first have my professors look over it, or even my TAs, other students first, maybe like your friends, and then move on, like TA, then maybe professor, if that's something you feel more comfortable with, like you want it more polished before you give it on to the next step. That's what I would suggest. Making sure that paper was something that you really cared about, you poured your heart into, you worked very hard on it. That is also another suggestion I would have too. And then also looking at the current climate of papers that are circling, like the research that is already there and being published now, like how can yours fit in there? Where's the gap? Where are you filling in? Where is it going? Like your paper can be a big difference if you actually look at that stuff and include more things in it, like topics, or like how yours fits in.
Yeah. Let me trace all of that
Yeah,
back to
sorry.
the beginning. No. It's completely fine. That going to like a professor first or a TA. I would also put in like the library, the writing center.
Mhm.
But you have to get your paper out there. That like a one done kind of thing is. I'm not saying it's not possible, but of course it's going to go through. You want it, of course, you want it to be the best that it can be. So you need to have as many eyeballs on it as
Yep.
possible. That's how writing is done.
Exactly.
But but yeah, I really encourage the writing center. And our previous guest Evelyn, she comes from the writing center and all of that. So yeah, it's a big thing that you need a lot of people looking for it. And then as far as like where the gaps are and in the
Mhm.
research, that really is something, because of course you had to do so much research to get to the point
Mhm.
where you had your own argument. So you had to do all that and figure out where currently everything is at, and that is a big ask.
Mhm.
How much time, like you said that you spent like years, how much, just like talk about the one paper, the Spanish
Mhm.
speaking, just like I think you had like 20 references. You had like more than a dozen that
Mhm.
I can remember, but that's an incredibly long amount of time
Yeah.
just getting up to the point that you can write it. Correct?
Yeah. So gathering resources is a big thing for your papers because you want to know what's going on in the climate, and so I use like different programs like Zotero, Research Rabbit to see all my sources connected, and that's just really an organization tool. And then after that, like it's it's important to have your source. Like I don't know what to say.
No,
I lost my train of
like
thought.
no, that's fine. I also use Zotero. Like I haven't had anything published or like really written
Hmm.
that's very long, but it's something that I use just to keep everything together that you can just easily export
Hmm.
for like your bibliography, just so that everything is one place. And especially if you had like an annotated bibliography, so everything is just in one spot for you to.
Yeah.
That's what you have to like. It is
Yeah.
juggling so many voices of like things that you're interpreting, and
Hmm.
you're not spitting them back, but you're spitting your own story of the research.
Yeah. It's a lot of time to write a paper, but in the long end, if you do get it published, it feels really good. It's great to put on your resume. It shows people that you can work hard towards a long end goal, which is good in this job market, and even in going to graduate school, it's very good to see.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because most people would think that like, oh, why would I ever need to I just wrote the paper, I don't need to do anything else, but you really do need to. It because exactly the point you made. It shows to other people that you put in the discipline to follow through
Hmm.
and do it and write it and go through the entire process, and not just I have a paper that I wrote and I got an A on it or whatever. It really
Hmm.
shows that, and then you can put it on your resume and along with your award and
Hmm.
everything else, and it looks really good to people that. Because to be very fair about the outer world is just a series of you're put into a box where it's a resume and it's lines on a piece of paper before they ever talk to you the first time, and you get judged by
Everything.
everything that you've done. So hopefully, like you wanna be doing things.
Yeah, you don't want your resume to be bare when you graduate, because you do want a job, you do want to get into grad school if you do. So you want things on it to look good, to show that you work hard.
Yeah, and the URJ is one of those things,
Mhm.
along with UROC and the LAPE project, LAPE, LEAP.
Mhm.
So many different things. They're all here, and you do want it. That's why, that's why we're doing the podcast, so more people can submit. So I have more work, and the other students have more work for the thing. But yeah.
We want to show that UC Merced students are doing a lot here. We want to see all of your research. So, and what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of the different narrative voices. Like, now we didn't. Did we have yours in Spanish and in English? Correct.
No,
Or
mine was
no,
just
no.
in English. Yeah.
I don't know if we had another paper that was, because we did have one that was in Arabic and then English.
Hmm.
So we're trying to.
We had one that, the one that was published during the time mine was published as well. There was one in Spanish and English, I believe.
Okay, yeah, because I've talked about this before, about the necessary need of exactly what you're doing, and
Mhm.
like that's what we're here for. Especially UC Merced is, yeah, great like that. You got anything else you want to talk about in terms of URJ or life? Anything else?
I wish I knew about the URJ sooner, because I would have published a lot more papers probably, or like submitted a lot more.
Okay.
Because I was in different research experiences here on campus. So if I did that, that would have been pretty cool to know more about the URJ, like more advertising of it.
Yeah.
Because at the like I think last year there wasn't as much, but now there's a lot more advertising for the URJ.
Yeah, and hopefully this is more. I know that like this semester there's only been there was only 5 people within it, and I
Mhm.
think in the next they're gonna be like 10, but hopefully it's a lot more. And like once again, if you had more time, because you're not just whatever in language, you're a lot more, especially doing so many different projects that
Mhm.
you would have been able to. That's why I also encourage people to not be part of the URJ. They're like the spring of their senior year, that there's more things to the URJ than just reading papers, and there's social media, and there's this, and
You get
which
to
is
see
also social
research on the campus, like what are students doing, and then pretty
exactly,
great.
and just like that, you never know what you can come across that like you have experience with, or that can jumpstart something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's other students that get their papers published, so you get to meet them, you get to network, you guys can collaborate, go to grad school together, research more.
Yeah.
Yeah, networking is very big, so the URJ was a big thing for networking as well.
Yeah. And we had a lot, even besides you. We had, I believe, there was one woman that you knew that was like valedictorian, or they gave
Kimberly.
the speech
Yeah,
at their graduation,
it
or
was
something like
Kimberly,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. See, yeah. So networking is very important. But I
Mhm.
believe you knew them.
From class.
You knew them from class. See, but that's still another networking thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. We're gonna go right back to the very beginning of when we began to talk of like talking to professors. The same thing applies to other students. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. But yeah, it's all one big circle, and it's all a bunch of words, and they all got to fit. We all got to try to get our meaning across from one consciousness to the other. But
Exactly.
we're doing it. Anything else, or we're gonna wrap with the 20 minutes?
I think that's everything I have, and unless you want to,
I don't
know.
really have anything else. Like, I got you in here to talk about the URJ and you being an award winner, so that I could inspire and you could inspire other people to be part of it. And I believe that we both, in our time here of, propaganda for the URJ.
Yeah.
But I certainly believe every word that I'm saying.
Yeah, and like having your paper published in the URJ, or like in the process of being published, you can talk to other professors if you're still continuing college at UC Merced, and like possibly show them your paper and be like, this is what I've done. How can it connect to your research? And it goes back to talking to your professors, or not even your professor, other professors, and getting involved. And then you can become published in their papers as well if you do a tremendous amount of work. So just work hard and communicate with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that because from like the English point of view, you're still coming from like your own. There is like the single, but in STEM there is the multiple people on the authors. Yeah. I asked that question for another paper that I read for this semester of like how it worked when like you're first or second or third, and I was very curious to have because it was two authors and I hadn't worked with two authors before. So that was a like what voice are we dealing with in the paper here, because you know we got
Yeah.
a balance of whose voice it is to make it uniform. But, yeah. I think that's everything, and
Yeah.
this has been Insert Research here. I'm Christopher Finley, and I was joined with
Brian Fernandez.
thank you for watching.
Thank you.